Yeah, are you ready to begin?
I am.
Okay. So before we begin, can you? I'm turning. I'm recording's on. Um, can you state for everyone that you agreed to do this and that you are agreeing that you consent and to be have all your answers recorded and shared publicly?
I do consent.
Thank you. And can you verify for everyone that all your answers are your own and that you have not consulted with anyone else prior to this interview?
We did not consult anything.
Who's we?
Me and any other candidate.
All right, sounds good. And lastly, can you also confirm for everybody watching that I have not given you any of these questions in advance?
You did not give any questions in advance. I'm actually curious what they are.
All right, cool, great. Let's get started then. So first of all, I'd like for you to just introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about why you wanted to be a prefect.
So, hi, I'm Marc. I've been playing Harry Potter games since I've been a child. They were actually one of the first games I've played. I got into speedrunning in 2016, actually into watching them, then started playing myself during 2017. My first games were actually Harry Potter. So those games are basically my introduction to the speedrunning community, which is actually to this day is a big part of whatever I'm spending my free time on. I enjoy running those games. I enjoy glitch hunting. I enjoy learning more about anything related to not just specifically those games, but speedrunning overall. It actually I believe improved me, helped me improve as a person. It got me out of some bad habits, and yeah, that's my past with those games. Currently, I believe I'm one of the most active members in the community in terms of activity on Discord, activity in conversations with new runners, activity with conversation with new people on the Discord. I'm also active in various different projects, be smaller or bigger, which are ongoing within the community. I have experience with moderating Discords. I have also experience with moderating chats. I've done a lot. I've learned a lot, and I believe I want to just keep improving both myself and the community.
Very good. So now that you've told us a bit about who you are and why you want to do this, could you tell us about talk a little bit about your experience? I know you've actually Harry Potter is not the only community that you moderate for. Is that correct?
I only moderate Harry Potter games. However, I mean, okay, I do. I also have a moderator status for one Bionicle game, which is not very active, but I occasionally verify runs and also help with like discussions whenever something comes up. I don't really recall being really a moderator in any other community though.
Are you a moderator in Brother Bear?
I do. Okay, that's true.
Right.
Obviously, I consider it as part of the Harry Potter community. Okay.
I see.
The overlap is actually pretty high.
The what is? Sorry. The overlap?
Overlap between Brother Bear community and Harry Potter community.
Alright, so what do you think... So there was a bit of discussion about this earlier in the Discord a few days ago, but in your ideal version of the Harry Potter speedrun community, the society, this little group that we have, what is the role of a prefect in this community, in your ideal world?
I see it not only just as administrator of the Discord itself. I believe, at least that's how I feel. Prefects should be kind of the heads of the community, like people who are not only just doing the dirty job of deleting spam and stuff, but also people who are actively doing their best to participate in as much of the stuff going inside the community as they like could. People who are actually dedicating their most of their free times just helping the community grow and make it a better place to be in, not just for newcomers but also for the people who've been there, and give them space to do cool stuff.
All right. So you talked about in your little blurb that you wrote for. I think you might have actually wrote. I shouldn't say little. I think you wrote the most of anybody.
Yes, like I got kind of scolded for not understanding the word briefly.
You know, it's all good. I mean, I think I wrote about just as much for my Wisdom Gamut application. So yeah, you're fine on that count. It's good to have. In fact, I thought that hearing the reason I'm doing these interviews is because I felt like what everyone wrote wasn't really enough to go on. I had to personally not get to know them. I think I know everyone here decently well, but I wanted to personally ask some questions about it. So I'm glad that you were thorough, because it's actually we're even continuing it now. So I'm kind of with you. You should put as much information as possible so people can make the most informed decision. Now, about what you wrote that you have knowledge about, quote, limitations of common cheating software, end quote. And could you maybe explain a little bit what you mean by that? I mean, have you ever actually helped catch a cheater?
I helped trying to catch cheaters. You probably know Meep, right? I was the person who actually proved him to be legit, because there were allegations about, like, first run Meep ever submitted was, I think, top 5 in HP1 any percent. So there were actually had very huge doubts, and there were problems with this runs because people did not want to believe it's actually legit. But there were no ideas how to prove his legitimacy. I was the one who suggested asking Meep for his live split file, which then I actually opened in text editor just to check what can I find there, and I found 4 years worth of attempts that were never submitted. So yeah, that was let's say an example of like trying to catch someone. Well, when I was thinking about it, I kind of meant I've done a lot of stuff with chat engine inside Harry Potter games, mostly trying to scan for memory addresses and stuff. However, I did also tested how do the games behave if you try to use the time hack. Is it called time hack? There was like
I know what you're talking about. There's a speed hack built into Cheat Engine that
exactly. And I was testing how it exactly works with different Harry Potter games to have a good understanding what to time to make sure the run is not sped up.
I see. Now, are you at all concerned that maybe a more sophisticated cheater would actually just use a script within the game itself? I mean, it's very easy to mod Harry Potter 1 and 2. I mean, it's a modular engine, so I think that I almost wonder if a cheater wouldn't be more likely to just use in-engine tools to their advantage. I mean, there's a slow-mo command built into the game that you can use, and it's very hard to detect. So are you worried about people using that as opposed to using Cheat Engine?
There's actually one thing that works against using such options.
Don't give it away, because then people will know how to cheat.
I'm actually in the camp that promotes the meta where we use floss splits for speedrunning, especially HP2. And what is good about those splits? He splits everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So if someone gets unnaturally fast, let's say Enter Castle split, from between the split between Willow and Enter Castle, if they get unnaturally fast split, it's easy to detect.
Okay. So you don't think they would also just fake the splits? Like that makes it harder. You're saying that makes it harder to fake the splits.
I believe
The
it's
more splits
harder
you have.
to fake the splits, especially if they use loadless and play glitched category where we use reloads.
Right. That's would you ever consider like a mandate, like a rule that would say like you have to um submit your attempts even if you don't PB, or like you have to submit a certain number of attempts to stop people from showing up out of nowhere with world records that are cheated? Or would you be in favor of a rule that said like you have to use a certain number of splits in your runs to prove that you don't cheat? I mean, like how big of an issue do you think this actually is?
I don't believe it's a big issue. To be fair, like in Mip's case, it's completely it's completely fine. He was proven to be fine in a couple ways, I believe. Overall, I don't think everyone should be forced to submit every single one of their PBs. Some people like submitting them. Some people prefer to just hoard and get better time before they submit stuff. Both styles have their advantages, disadvantages. Some people just don't submit them because they value their times, and I don't think it's. I think it's a fair argument, so we don't have to kind of force them to do so. About the number of splits, it's something which I said. It's some. I'm kind of trying to push it as a meta to use flow splits because they have more splits, and it's. I'm not saying objectively better, but it's. I don't believe forcing more splits is a good idea. However, encouraging people to have more helps with this kind of stuff.
Interesting, because I don't believe I've ever heard it approached from that angle. I've heard people say more splits is better just because they like it. I didn't know it had an actual administrative like purpose to it, so that's interesting to know. Now, pivoting a little bit here, but it's like this new prefect system, this new Wizengamot system, this new kind of elections. There's never been an election in the history of Harry Potter speedrunning.
Not just Harry Potter speedrunning. Recently there was a question. Recently, I mean, it was 5th of January. There was a question on speedrun.com Discord. There was a question if there's any speedrunning community where the heads of the community are elected, democratically elected, and there was no answer whether in any community there was such a system.
So as far as you know, we are the first ones.
Could you repeat, please?
So as far, just saying, as far as you're aware, or anyone from speedrun.com is aware, we are actually the first community to even consider doing this.
Yes, that's probably a novelty among the speedrunning communities.
Do you think it's a good idea?
Yes. Shortly, yes. Even if it won't work out, it's a good idea to at least try.
Noted. And do you think there's anything from the old system of doing things that should be preserved or carried over that would make sure we don't lose?
From the old system?
Yeah, the old system
we still carry over stuff from the old system where the prefects are the ones who... Actually, one thing for sure, I don't like the naming prefects are being above Wizengamot. That's one of the things I still want to be kind of considered to being changed.
I think it's a bit too late for that one.
Yeah, I'm digressing. So we're still doing it in a way that the prefects are deciding what to do, like where to move. We are still deciding what to do, like with initially, just first instinct, what to do with a rule. Do we move? Where do we move it? Do we kind of move it over to Wizengamot so more people can discuss? Do we move it over to the community? Just this time, it's more systemized. It's kind of there's a system what to do, in which situation, what numbers do we want. Basically, it's not the system. it's not systemized. There was better word also. Standardized, kind, if you know what I mean.
I do.
We still like. The thing is, about the rule changes, it's basically the same as before, but it's standardized, so it's probably gonna get to community more often than it used to.
Interesting.
Probably, but I'm not exactly sure. The time will tell. But it's all. But as I'm saying, it's a novelty, so it's worth trying.
Thank you for giving your thoughts on the matter. I think unless there was anything more you wanted to say about anything we've covered, we covered the role of what an admin does, the novelty of what we're trying to do. I hope it succeeds. I think everyone wants it to succeed. I think most people. I think it's fair to say that most people are actually happy,
Yes, like
including myself.
We got some feedback on the command room, and yeah, like some people might have saw it as kind of a bad way of communicating stuff, but I don't know. Like I was reading the comments, and I was glad because most of them were pointing out the specific issues which were possible to fix.
Yeah.
And beside that, people seems to be fine with everything. So I believe it's going to the right direction, and yeah, time will tell.
Indeed. All right. That's pretty much everything I had for us to cover today. We're sitting at nearly 20 minutes of total call time. I didn't check to see when the interview actually started, the part that I will actually be posting. But one last thing before you go. Are reloads cheating? Yes or no?
Reloads are not cheating.
All right, you heard it there, folks. Thank you so much, Marc, for being a part of this project.
I just lost one vote.
No, it's all in good fun. Anyway, yeah, thank you so much, Marc, for agreeing to be part of this project. It was great to speak with you about this.
Also, thank you for inviting.
You're welcome. I thought it was important that we hear from everybody involved. So yeah, I think it was great to hear you talk a little bit more at length about what your thoughts on the situation was and your goals and opinions about the whole thing. And yeah, I look forward to like I said, I don't know if I mentioned I applied to be on Wizengamut. I wish you best of luck in your efforts to become or to continue your work as a prefect. And
thank you. I know for a fact the application got sent. It's like we are just not accepting anything until we sort out our thing.
I actually think that's a good idea. Because one kind of affects the other. Who's a prefect?
Technically, only Senna and Liam are currently kind of entitled, like, and only they are prefects. To be fair,
right.
So only they could decide what to do. So yeah, it's better to just sort out who is gonna be a prefect and who's not gonna be a prefect before we actually decide who's gonna be in Wizengamut and who's not gonna be.
I agree. All right, so God willing, I will actually be working with you on the issues in the future, and we will be getting some good stuff done. I look forward to it. I hope you have a great night, and take care.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much.